Ging Freecss. A few phrases come to mind when describing this great man. He's the creator of Greed Island, a 2-star hunter, and a member of the esteemed Zodiacs. He's also a terrible co-worker, a stubborn hunter, and an absentee father. But above all else, Ging is one of the top Nen users in the entire world, and a genius at his craft. Unfortunately, therein lies the trouble of his character. Despite his presence becoming more and more integral to the story of Hunter x Hunter, we have yet to see him use the full extent of his abilities. So that's why I, that anime theorist Jordan, am back, unlike some people's fathers, to identify Ging Freecss Nen ability. So how do we identify Ging Freecss Nen ability? As with any Nen ability, let's start with what powers he's visibly caught using. And of course, much like of how he treats his son, Ging will not be making this easy for us. The first of these abilities we see him use is an emission ability called Remote Punch, which we first see used by Leorio to knock some sense into everyone's favorite deadbeat Ging. Later, Ging displays the same ability in front of Theorist, improving upon it by throwing multiple punches into the ground. Theorist inquires after Ging uses the ability if he's able to copy other people's abilities. Ging, of course, corrects Theorist and explains that he can merely imitate any punching ability he's seen before. Ging then moves on to the next ability we see him use, called Ultrasound. Using an advanced application of Leorio's ability, Ging uses this ability to detect the location of his targets, functioning as a less detectable version of Een, or the ability to sense others within a certain radius. And after finding men with guns, Ging uses the final ability we see him use, called Phasing Bullets, which is just a basic application of firing Nen bullets from your hand, like Franklin or Bloster, with the main difference being Ging's phasing bullets, as the name suggests, phase through objects like walls to strike their enemy. Now I should mention that there are some abilities we don't see him use directly, like the box provided to Gon after he became a hunter. Not only did it show that Holiday Dad Ging is likely capable of making Nen inscriptions on the box that could withstand Killua's 10-ton strength, but it contained a tape that Ging had also imbued with Nen using multiple Nen categories. The tape had been manipulated to delete its own contents, as well as enhanced to prevent the recording device from being opened or destroyed. The last example is Greed Island, where we have little context into Ging's exact involvement or specific Nen abilities used. So with all of that laid out in front of us, what can we deduce from the abilities we've seen Ging use? Honestly, we can't really determine much, as many of the abilities we've seen Ging use thus far, despite their relative strength and effectiveness, are fairly basic applications of Nen, and for a 2-star hunter like Ging would not be classified as a specialty ability or hatsu. So then if we can't look into his abilities, what else should we look into? This is where most people would begin looking into his Nen type using the semi-reliable method of Hisoka's personality test. But of course I'm not like most people. So after rewatching the anime, rereading the manga, and reviewing outside source materials, I finally got our answer in Togashi's memos of all places. Around a year ago, Togashi's publishers released this memo by combining the scattered notes of Togashi to provide a deeper insight into Nen and the Nen types of many of our favorite characters. And while the fandom did rejoice over the new content from Togashi, a man who has back pain from literally carrying the series, the memo did come with its fair share of controversy. Zeno is an emitter debunking a weird Zoldyck hair theory. Yuppie is a transmuter, meaning that transmutation can change the shape of the body. But of course, we can use the chart to see that Ging is an wait, where is he? Of course. Ging is left to the side, further perpetuating the mystery of his ability. So then will we never know Ging's hatsu? Well, let's look at the chart again. The translated chart states that... wait, Togashi is Japanese. Everything is translated. Anyhow, the chart explicitly states that Ging's Nen type is unknown. Now, up until this point, a majority of people have interpreted this as Togashi has yet to reveal Ging's Nen type. But if that were the case, why even mention Ging on the graphic? Plenty of important characters are not on the board. Canary, Tonpa, Welfin, Zempile, Bonolevov, Basho, Sphinx, Phaeton, or I don't know, all of the Zodiacs? Now I understand that some of these may not need clarification as they're not important to upcoming arcs. But you would think that characters like Sphinx or Phaeton or I don't know, all of the Zodiacs would get a mention. Or at the very least, thrown into the unknown Nen type section with lonely old Ging. If only he had his son to keep him company. On top of that, Togashi revealed characters Nen types that we haven't even really seen use Nen, like Muliki. So then why Why explicitly state that Ging's Nen type is unknown? Well, what if I told you Togashi has been holding back a bombshell from the Hunter x Hunter community? One so large that it cracks the Hunter x Hunter power system clean in half. And that's because everyone's favorite neglectful father, Ging, has his own Nen type. You heard me right, his own Nen type. Now I can already hear you asking, but why does he get his own Nen type? But seriously, isn't any ability that falls outside of the Nen spectrum considered a specialist? Well, not exactly. Not if the ability rejects the idea of specializing in a Nen ability at all. Appropriately deemed the universalist by this user on Reddit, this Nen type functions as the antithesis to specialization. And with Jing's intense desires for freedom from responsibility, boredom, and children, it's not outside the realm of belief to infer that Ging wants the same level of liberty in the usage of his Nen. I mean, at this point, really ask yourself, could you see Father of the Year Ging tied down to a singular Nen ability, or heck, even two? That's why I believe he has to be a universalist, a Nen type that rejects a singular hatsu in favor of free-range Nen. By rejecting the usage of a singular or select few hatsu, universalists gain the ability to pick up Nen quicker than other individuals, allowing them in cases to appear like they are copying abilities. Along with this, a universalist's Nen proficiency would look similar to Krolapika's specialist ability, allowing them to achieve 100% in any given category. But I'm sure with a claim this large, you'd want some additional proof than a singular interpretation of a phrase. Fine, then let's talk about how Ging got his hunter's license in the first place. When Ging attended the 267th hunter exam, he was the only one to pass. The only other occasion we've seen this occur was a fully awakened Killua with assassin skills, a hatsu ready, and on his second attempt. So then how did Ging manage to do the same, entering in on his first attempt with seemingly no knowledge of Nen? If only someone had a rare Nen type that would allow them to pick up and use Nen a little bit more quickly than almost anyone else. Or how about let's talk about how surprised Periston was that Ging could copy someone's Nen ability, considering Periston was frequently around highly skilled Nen users. If this was something that you could achieve with a certain level of Nen proficiency, wouldn't someone like him know about it? Unless it's a specific hatsu, we don't really see anyone copying or even imitating a complex Nen ability. And while Ging may be a deadbeat dad and a mischievous miscreant, he is not a liar. So when he says he can imitate any punching ability, he is being fully honest. Ging can imitate any punching ability. He just leaves out the part where he can imitate every other kind of ability as well, so long as he has the basic idea of how it works. Periston even begins to understand this himself, as Ging begins to adapt Lario's ability into non-punching based emission abilities that weaker characters would deem a full hatsu. And there you have it. Even if it's a lame answer, Ging Freecss does not have a Nen ability. And hell, if that isn't right, then he probably has some insane specialist ability with like 10 conditions or Nen inscriptions on his bones, because there ain't no way that that guy has a regular Nen ability. Okay. Maybe I'm a little bit too invested, but thankfully, you can be too, as I have a plethora of other Hunter x Hunter theories just waiting for you. But before you leave, let's be sure to get one last one out. Deadbeat. And with that, stay curious.